one on good governance environment?
Well, that's a tricky one, but again, just to be candid, it's been a mixed bag. I know that Honorable Ndeleki is quite enthusiastic about the progress that has been made and the speech that the President made. A mixed bag in the sense that the UPND came into office with very high expectations. Expectations that we're going to see a turn for the better insofar as the governance landscape is concerned, given where we're coming from with the PF in power. The UPND government has a number of achievements, but there are also failures. But let's touch on a few achievements. If you look at the anti-corruption space, the government has managed to increase the budgetary allocation to critical institutions like the Anti-Corruption Commission and all other law enforcement agencies. They've equally managed to ensure that we go into digitalization of provision of government services and improve efficiency and reduce the opportunities therefore for corruption. They've established, so to say, the political will to fight corruption with a number of successes scored insofar as asset recovery is concerned. And the government will pride itself in the good performance on the Corruption Perception Index. That's on the achievement side. On the downside, the biggest problem that the UPND government has had is that their point of reference has been the PF. And I think that that has been a big mistake. The PF should not have been the reference point. For a number of the early years, the issue was we're doing better than the PF. But the PF were kicked out because they were not meeting people's aspirations. The UPND should have been a little bit more transformational as opposed to being transactional, by just merely being counting and looking at the little margins of improvement, but by demonstrating to the Zambians that this is where we want to take you. On good governance, for instance, we should have been saying, instead of us being at 39 out of 100 on the CPI, the target is that we should at least be hitting 50. So in reporting to the general populace, therefore, the President to be saying, this is how we're moving towards 50. It's not a question of saying we were 32 in 2021, we are 39 in 2024. I think that point of reference is where the UPND have kind of lost it. I worry a bit about the democratic space, particularly where political participation is concerned. I had expected a little bit more from the UPND in ensuring that there's free participation of all the political parties. So to see the use of the Public Order Act in the manner it has been used is a bit worrisome, and it was not expected from the UPND. Okay. Would have wanted to see that the Public Gatherings Bill already gets to Parliament, the Political Party Financing Bill gets to Parliament. We are not talking about Bill 7. We would have been a little bit more progressive in enhancing the democratic space and just entrenching good governance. So like I said, a mixed bag, some successes, but definitely there are a number of areas where they could have done better.
Doc, how do you rate yourself? The 4 years you've been in office when it comes to good governance environment?
Allow me to differ with the expert, the governance expert. I think the UPND government has delivered on most of its promises, and he's here, and I'm happy that today we are engaging each other. You know, when you politic and when you talk of reality, these are two different scenarios. I'll tell you that UPND government is 4 years in office now. He's talking, for example, of democratic space. To say it is shrinking or there is a problem, I'm shocked, because do you know that elections are going on without even the people of Zambia knowing that there are elections? He's saying we should not talk of PF. You know, history is very, very important. You cannot rub history. In 2021, you remember, Paulson, we had elections for the first time in this country under the supervision of the military. For the very first time, the army, you know, in polling stations. And I'm surprised that Mr. Fuka is not acknowledging those milestones. Today, people are voting. No one knows, no bloodshed. Look at the media. They are free. Everyone is free. Look at the streets. Look at the markets. Look at public places like Intercity. I think it is only fair, in terms of governance, to give credit where it is due. You know, to say that democratic space is shrinking, that's very strange, especially he's a senior man. He understands better, really, where we are coming from. Today we are having elections. No one knows. No assault, nothing happening. Media is covering, everyone is free to mobilize. To say that people are not being allowed to mobilize, the Public Order Act is used in a particular, is very strange to me. Because there's no Public Order Act which is being administered indiscriminately against, or in a discriminatory manner against any political party. Karaba is free. You saw him on the internet just 2 days ago, 3 days, he's with motorbikes, they're escorting him. Very peaceful country that we have. I think it's only fair to give credit where it's due. And before I go any further, allow me to congratulate His Excellency the President for yesterday's milestone, where we rolled out ambulances for the whole country. I think these are so historical and memorable. It has never happened. Those ambulances were being bought at about $80,000. PF previous donated availed few ambulances at $250,000. Look at 4 Fords, the price PF was buying an ambulance with accessories, the way those ambulances, $250,000. Okay. That was about $80,000. So let us give credit where it's due. The only thing, maybe UPND has delivered about 99%. Challenges maybe which we can all acknowledge, which His Excellency the President was magnanimous enough to acknowledge in Parliament, was the issue to do with electricity. I think the issue of electricity or ZESCO is a historical issue. There has been no investment in ZESCO. Cadres were employed there. People are drawing resources there. And we witnessed the drought that has never been witnessed in the lifetime of this country. Okay. So I think it's only fair to give credit where it's due. So I hope that you can point to the democratic space which is shrinking than just giving these open statements like that. I think India has delivered 99%. Yeah, but I think
just a short rejoinder. I think we'll be making a big mistake, and Honorable Ndeleki, with the greatest respect, if we sit here and pretend we've reached Denmark, as we call it in good governance parlance. We still have a long way to go. And let's admit it, we have to entrench our democracy. If you have a situation where the Zambia police continuously gives reasons why political parties cannot hold rallies, you shouldn't be patting yourself on the back for that. You've mentioned Kalava. What about all the other political parties that have asked to hold?
Okay, that's very important. Yes. That's very important.
Well, I think
we are talking democracy. We are talking democracy and governance. That's very, very important. Yeah. I would like him to categorically state.
Yes.
Who has been refused to gather? Do you know
Socialist Party has.
When were they denied?
Well, I think that they will be making a mistake if we go into this dialogue.
Let's get to the address. Let's get to page 51. The President did talk about that the new Dawn government has entrenched transparency and accountability, enhanced participation in decision making, as well as continue to strengthen the democracy. The President further said the new Dawn government has continued to enhance access to justice and observance of the rule of law. Your reaction on that one?
Indeed, that is a correct state of affair. You are aware that we just passed Superior Court's Number of Judges Act just from this Parliament in the last 2-3 months before we went on recess, meaning that the judges of the High Court, who are currently 60, are going to be increased to 100, trying to give access to justice. Look at decentralization of the Legal Aid Board. We didn't have the Legal Board, throughout the districts, but today we have covered, out of 116 districts, over 100 districts are covered by access to justice through the Legal Aid Board. The Judiciary now are having sessions in prisons or correctional facilities, which is a very serious milestone. So in terms of the rule of law, constitutionalism, the milestones being made, we can say it's at 99.9. We are doing very, very well in that particular area.
Mr. Lefoka, what do you think your views on government's effort to enhance access to justice and observance of the rule of law? I know Doc has just highlighted some of the successes. The Legal Aid Board, which has was, maybe lack of a better term, was not present in all corners of this country.
Yes, I think when we talk about the Legal Aid Board, we do have the Legal Aid Board, legal aid policy. There's an emphasis on people-centered justice. establishing new offices in 15 districts. All those are milestones, the very important milestones. When you get 55,000 plus people around the country accessing legal aid, one sees that as a big milestone. With still challenges, which we also have to admit. You still have a backlog of cases in court. You have inadequate courtroom spaces, and more needs to be done in that regard. We need to, in a way, strengthen the work of the judiciary so that the judiciary is able to deliver in good time and not have to face all these backlogs. The establishment of specialized courts like the Economic and Financial Crimes Court is one that is well noted. The fact that there's an SI to try and conclude corruption cases within 5 months is noted. The question that I have as an anti-corruption person is that is the 5 months being adhered to? I'd express concern that that was not going to be the case, and I think I've been vindicated. There have been a number of cases which are still going beyond 5 months. Okay. And I think the point is to try and get to the root cause of the problem and really understand why do we have these challenges. The problem may not be just with the judiciary. It's taking a whole of government approach so that you're not just tackling one element of government, but understanding that do we have the right systems, do we have the right human capital, do we have the right procedure and the right mindset in order to deliver in terms of good governance.
Before I move on to Doc, how do you make of this, the statement in the President's address, the observance of rule of law?
Yes, I think there is a certain element to it about the rule of law being observed. People are essentially expected to be before the courts of law where they forefoul of the law and no sacred cows, as it were. And that's one general statement, and one sees that that is happening. You can access the courts of law without any challenges. When it comes to specific areas where I would have expected to see a little bit more in terms of the anti-corruption space is ensuring that anyone that is alleged to have been found in corrupt activities is fully investigated and prosecuted. And there are questions whether we are doing that comprehensively. In my view, we could have done a lot better. We're doing something. Is that being done fully? We definitely could have done better. There have been allegations, and I want to be very candid, and I'm sure Honorable Ndeleki knows that I'm a very candid person. There have been allegations against 7 ministers, and we've heard the Anti-Corruption Commission in their last press conference. The Anti-Corruption Commission chair himself indicated we are investigating some ministers. However, we will not name them, and yes, there could be technical reasons for that. But what that does is that if at the end of the day the process against those that are serving in government takes a little bit longer than the process against those that are not in government, people then tend to think there's an element of being selective in the way justice is being dispensed, and would have expected that Anti-Corruption Commission, for instance, deals with all the cases before them with the same dispatch as opposed to given this semblance that we have selective justice. And one small point that earlier on Honorable Ndeleki seems to have missed, I indicated that the UPND could have done better. I'm not saying they have not done, I'm saying could have done better under the circumstances. The fact that they came in as really this savior party, as it were, given where we're coming from. So I think let's not miss that point. It needs to be underlined. Could have done better in that the expectations were extremely high. I keep saying that what the UPND will suffer from, are suffering from, is the high expectations that people had. Not that they have not done better, but the expectations were raised extremely high in 2021, and that needs to be put into context.
Doc, your quick reaction, what Mr. Lifukas has talked about, and also maybe you can respond to the observance of rule of law. He has brought quite a critical point where it is perceived that your government is targeting past corruption.
That is not true. You see, this president, like I always say, this president means well for this country. In terms of the fight against corruption, like what is going on now, everyone is being investigated. You know, to say that there are some ministers who are being investigated, then he turns it out to say, no, that's a selective, why haven't they maybe disclosed their names or whatever it is. For me, the position I've taken from day one is that the Act itself, Act number 3 of 2012, Anti-Corruption Commission Act number 3 of 2012 is a very weak piece of legislation. And I've said this, I have written on that, and these are in public domain. The issue about corruption is a very, very serious crime. Seeing the courts, seeing the law massaging corruption is a source of great concern to myself. I'll tell you that the cases that have gone before court, I always mention them because as lawyers we look at precedents. If you look at, for example, the case of Katere Karumba, Stella Chibanda, Bedi Mpanda and all those who got $10 million and were sentenced to just something like 5 years. Then when you go to jail, there's commutation. 1/3 of the sentence is commuted. So it makes a mockery because anyone will be motivated. If you are told you only stay there at 2 years and you're given $10 million, even me, I can choose to do that because the law would have been massaging. Therefore, my position from Katombola constituency has been that a person who is found guilty of corruption must get not less than 25 years prison sentence. That would deter. Look at the recent case of $11 million, the Marangi case, for example. Look at the sentence. You are told 4 years, which then you go to prison, they commute, you just save retry something like less than 2 years. You come back home. $11 million taxpayers' money? On that one, I've been very, very categorical, that the law on corruption is very weak, the systems, the way they are very weak, and it cannot deter corruption. We, from the perspective where I stand as a legal practitioner and as a lawyer, as a member of parliament, I feel that that law is very weak. Those 11 million, what can you do for this?
What are you doing as a lawmaker to make sure that such laws...
Of course, the amendments are coming. My brother, the amendments to the Act, they are coming. And we have learned lessons. You know, these are laws that we inherited, and we are reforming them one by one. Like for the number of judges, I've just explaining that last session we increased the number of judges through the amendment bill that was here. Superior Court's number of judges bill was passed to increase the number of judges not only in the High Court but in the Court of Appeal as well. So in terms of corruption, what he's saying about selective is not true, because those people who are facing court now, who are claiming to say, you know, we've been targeted, are actually criminals. They have been sentenced regardless of whether they were PF or not, but mere criminals. Look at what the former president was telling them about corruption. Kuti mwaria, but I would not speak good Bemba, but you can eat, but do not eat the seed. So the point I'm trying to make is that corruption must be highly criminalized, whether it's theft of medicines in public institutions, whether it comes in any form, you know, undervaluing this, getting pilfering of funds which belongs to the government, it must attract not less than 25 years. And that way, a person who has been found wanting in areas of corruption, for the case of Katere Karumba, we have Austin Chisanguriato, all those cases have gone through the Supreme Court. Okay. We remember, you know, Dr. Bulaya, Kashibwa Bulaya, Henry Kapoko, all those people, the sentences were very minimal and massaging.
All right.
Thank you very much.
This is the post-analysis of the presidential address during the official opening of the 5th session of the 13th Assembly. And my two guests this morning, I do have Dr. Clement Ndeleki, Member of Parliament for Katombola constituency, and Mr. Ruben Lifuka, a governance expert. And you can also be part and parcel of this interesting conversation that we're having on Parliament Radio and Parliament Television. The number that you can use if you wish to get in touch with us via text message is 0978 772801. That's 0978 772801. Better still, you can also go to our Facebook page, the National Assembly of Zambia, and our YouTube pages, and let us know where you're watching us from. If you have any question or contribution regarding today's topic, good governance environment. We know that the President on the 12th of September, that was last week on Friday, he was here at Parliament grounds and did highlight what the New Dawn government has achieved and how they intend to give us a roadmap for 2026. Let me get back to the speech that the President gave last week, and this is on page 52. And the President did begin by saying, since assuming office, the New Dawn government has accelerated implementation of the decentralization agenda, and I did emphasize that the government has taken resources away from the center and enhanced the allocation of CDF with over 16 billion disbursed since 2022. This is a huge number with real value delivered closer where people reside. Mr. Lifuka.
You allow me just before I get to the decentralization piece. I think Honorable Ndeleki did.
Yeah, just a quick reaction.
Yeah, just a quick reaction.
A number of issues. That
well, I think this is important. A bit contradictory in his own submission on the issue of corruption. First, he talks about the inadequacies of the law, and that as a practitioner I believe that more can be done, whether it's with the sentencing policy, but also just the criminalization of corruption, which is great because it's consistent with the United Nations Convention Against Corruption or other international protocols related to corruption. But that in itself is where the problem is. The UPND government could have put in place a comprehensive strategy to deal with corruption, not just to follow up on a few cases, but to deal more comprehensively with the law, with institutional reform, but also dealing with very specific issues. We're talking about asset recovery. We've not strengthened asset management. You recover assets, the assets go to waste. So all that should have been part of the package of dealing with corruption. And that has been the point from day one. Can we have a comprehensive anti-corruption strategy as opposed to just dealing with one or two issues? Okay. And that has not been the case. Okay. Coming to decentralization.
No, but before you go, would you want to react?
Of course, I will. A quick yes, the fight against corruption is not a UPND, exclusive duty. It's a duty. These are public funds we are talking about. All of us must get concerned. Pilfering of drugs, this and that system that we should use. We are a parliament, for example, here. These laws that we make, they come from the community. Like I've indicated, the law has been weak. We can't go around that. The law has been weak, the systems has been weak, but government is doing something. That's what I'm saying. The amendment bill to Anti-Corruption Committee Act number 3 of 2012 is coming to the House. Okay. And there is an anti-corruption strategy. The policy was drafted, and it is now in public domain. Okay. Through the Anti-Corruption Commission. So it's not that UPND is not doing anything. Okay. It's a responsibility of all of us. The strategy has already been drafted and made available. The same people, the civil society. You want to pass this law? So no, we need to be consulted this. We need to be consulted. Look at public governance bills. We'll get there. No, us we don't agree. Bill number 7, we haven't been consulted. This, we haven't been consulted, making it very, very difficult to deliver on time certain legislation in an expedient manner. Good policies like the anti-corruption amendment, no, we haven't been consulted. Public order bill, no, we need to be given more time to be consulted. Bill number 7 now, which is an issue, no, we need to be consulted. The president, being a recent president, withdraw some of these bills. Okay, let's more consultation. It's strange for him to come and now blame government to say, no, but you've taken long to. When we bring it, they say, no, but we haven't been consulted.
Yeah, but you knew, even when you're coming up with the laws, you're in corporate consultation.
Yes, we always do.
You don't then do this as an aftermath because people have, there's an outcry. Then you say, no, we need to consult. When you are developing the strategy, you incorporate consultation.
I did give a line from what the president talked about regarding decentralization, where he talked about 16 billion kwacha being disbursed since 2022. And how do you make of that?
Well, I think the decentralization policy, the revised 2023 policy and the implementation plan that followed thereafter has seen some traction, as the President indicated, with the amount of money that's been displaced to the local area. The whole idea of devolving power from the center to the local areas is something that the government is working on. Devolving 13 functions to the local authorities, something that is also underway, accompanied with resources. So one sees that there is some traction on the decentralization policy, and this has been long in the making. And I'm sure you see that I'm starting with the positives before I talk about the things that can be done better. And I hope Honorable Ndeleki notices that. So one sees that there's that element, aligning the WDCs with what is happening with CDF and the development process, the increase in CDF allocation. All these are part of the broader scheme of decentralization. However, in order to successfully have this decentralization policy work, we need to strengthen the capacity of a local authority. Some local authorities already have serious challenges to deliver on public services, and they have limited capacity. They may also have limited financial capacity. So we have to put the local authorities in a state where they can deliver efficiently with the additional devolved functions. And one hopes that this will be on the card as we now go into the second part of the implementation of the decentralization policy. We need to strengthen financial management systems within local authorities. Okay. Just a few months ago, Parliament had sit-ins with local authorities, the the Public Accounts Committee, meeting with the different local authorities. And you could tell that some of the questions that were being raised by the parliamentarians through that committee have to do with systemic weaknesses at the local authority level. And therefore, it's good to have the policy in place, but we need to have accompanying strategies to strengthen the capacity of the local authorities to fully discharge on their functions.
All right, Doc, your reaction?
Thank you very much. I think this has been a well thought out policy. You know, the issue of decentralizing power to the grassroots has been the wisest policy I can ever talk about, because, you know, CDF is transforming people's lives. You know, look at the amounts that are involved. So somebody was asking me to say, where do you think this money was under previous governments? Where were they keeping this money? So what was it, the money they were using to fly in expensive jets and all this and that? But the point I'm trying to make is that has been a very wise decision. Like for Katombora constituency and the country at large, it is transforming people's. I'll tell you, Nyawa people, Nyawa chiefdom, the whole chiefdom, they had never seen electricity since 1964. Never in the history. My people didn't know about electricity. Not only in Nyawa, we've extended to Musokotwani, areas of Munkuni, Sekute. We are extending electricity, and children are baffled to say. So this life, people in urban areas can also live like this. So in terms of CDF, is doing the roads, we've got our moving equipment, we've got water bowsers, we've got drilling rigs, we've got, you know, it's really transforming people's life. When I talk to you about maternity annexes, people are giving birth, giving life, women, only, you know, modern grass-thatched houses, you know, just like wild animals. It was so pathetic, it was so bad.
Now, when you look at the quality of these projects that are undertaken under CDF, Parliament TV and Parliament Radio have taken time just to go and document these projects in various constituencies across the country. But the quality of these projects leave much to be desired. When we talk of 16 billion kwacha, is this amount translating what we are finding on the ground?
My brother, what I can tell you about an African or a human being is that even a well-intended policy like this one, we still have people who want to steal the cement. We still have people who want to behave in a part. That's why I'm talking of corruption, that the law must be, because if you steal cement or give a short work because some of the material has been stolen, this should attract 25 years. I just came back from outside Zambia, where there are higher structures. I was in Ethiopia, I was in Russia, I was in Moscow. I was looking at their infrastructure. I was asking them, don't you have the problem of cement being stolen material? They said, my friend, here is 25 years. You still, even a small thing, include even a pen, 25 years. I was in Addis Ababa. I stayed there 10 days. I found the same policy. You still, things are just left in the open there. The problem of theft in the mind of many Zambians mostly attributed to our own people that are technocrats conniving with substandard workers, you know, just to steal from government. They think government money belongs to the government, but yet they forget this is their money. So in terms of shoddy works, we do not commend shoddy works. It's an offense, actually. These councils, they have engineers. And I hope that we can take interest as a country to audit. These are public funds. That's why we have Auditor General's office to check whether the quality of the work is commensurate to the money that was paid.
Okay.
We have a lot of people using CDF to steal. In most of these local authorities, people are driving bigger cars using the stolen funds. And that's why, for me, from Katombora constituency, we feel that the fight against corruption in any form of stealing public funds, whether it's material, medicines or what, the law must continue to be strengthened so that perpetrators and offenders are given sufficient punitive measures. Because without strengthening the law, I can tell you, people will continue to be motivated to steal. And CDF substandard works is an act of corruption and theft. But His Excellency the President's motive there and his government is very clear that high quality works delivered on time for the correct price.
Let's get to the screen and see who has sent a text message. Remember, the number that we're using is 0978772801. Better still, you can also go to our Facebook page and let me know where you're watching us from or where you're listening us from. And you can ask the two guests that I have, Dr. Clement Andeleki, Member of Parliament for Katombola constituency, and Mr. Ruben Lifuka, a governance expert. And we are looking at good governance environment based on what the President talked about last week on Friday. Let's check if we do have some text messages on our screen this morning. All right, the first one comes from Emmanuel Masie. You're saying, good morning, the panel. The President's vision is very clear. How it is now it is our duty as a country to change mindset and tap into his vision to fight corruption. Thank you so much, Masie from Mazabuka there. All right, Saik, we only had one text message. Your quick reaction, Mr. Lifuka, regarding some of the question that I asked Dr. Andeleki earlier on regarding the projects that we see using CDF, because the President did give us huge amount that has gone into these constituencies. 16 billion. Is the 16 billion worth the project that we are seeing?
Again, we need to take it more holistically in addressing that issue. A lot of money has gone into constituencies, and the directive right from the beginning was that we utilize the local expertise, the local capacity. But the truth of the matter is that not every constituency then will have the necessary technical capacity, for instance, to do the construction work. And therefore, there have been these teething problems. Some projects that have been delivered may not meet the technical standards that were expected. And over time, one has seen a number of improved guidance from the Ministry of Local Government. But there's also an element of theft, as the Honorable Andeleki has mentioned. That human element where people want to maximize on the available resources at the local area. But there's something that could have also been done right at the beginning. When you increase the amount of money, again, speaking as a corruption expert for over 25, 26 years, inevitably moving from 1.6 to over 30 million kwacha raises corruption risks. And we should have integrated opportunities of how to address these corruption risks right from the beginning. This was bound to happen. And I remember when the President just made that announcement and later on the Minister of Finance followed it up with an increased amount. I said I would have been happy to see what strategies government is also proposing to counter the possible corruption and impropriety that will accompany the huge amounts of money that have come up. But it's a learning process. Governance is a learning process, and this is why I personally don't get fixated on percentages, whether it's 99% or 99.9%, because it's a continuum. So we learn from what has happened. Monies have gone to the constituencies. We have these inadequacies in the quality of the projects that have been delivered. The question is, how do you improve the systems? How do you improve the oversight to finally deliver the right goods to the people which have value for money? And that's what we should be aiming for. Okay. And how do we strengthen the entire procurement system so that you take out the chaff, as it were? Those that cannot deliver should not continue to be getting government jobs. That is why the late President Manawasa blacklisted some contractors for shoddy works that they were delivering and for the corruption that they were engaged in. We need to get to that level so that contractors already know you do a shoddy job, you will not get further government work, and whether you're just suspended by ZPPA for a short while, but you should just know that you'd never get government work again.
Okay. Allow me to get back to the speech, Doc and Mr. Lifuka, on the same page, page 52, where the President talked about the issue to do with devolution. He did say that government has devolved 13 functions with matching resources from central government to local authorities to enhance service delivery and accountability. He further said government has continued to transform and modernize provisions of public service through digitalization, and the government has increased the number of public service being offered online through the ZAM portal to 368 in 2025 from 116 in 2021. Your quick reaction, Doc.
Indeed, that is a very serious milestone. You are aware that I'm coming from the civil service myself, having worked there 25 years before I came to join politics. I'll tell you that these are very serious milestones, because previously what was happening was that there was a challenge of government communicating to another government agency. So, for example, if you are going to pay ZRI, you can using the ZAM portal, you can pre-clear your documents, and this side they clear you immigration, all the agencies of government involved, ZDA, all these stakeholders are on one platform. Those are very serious milestones, and we commend His Excellency the President for these milestones.
Mr. Lefoka, your quick reaction?
Yes, digitalization, firstly, devolution, we've talked about that, the fact that we're now seeing more functions taken to the local authority, which is great, but like I said, we just need to accompany that with relevant capacity development. But when it also comes to other services to improve efficiency, we're talking about digitization, which the President referred to, which is very welcome. The fact that one can easily access government services and pay for government services, as it were, using the available digital platforms. That is excellent. That is something that we should be doing. What we have to look at, in order for this to really work, just like we would be talking about EGP, is to improve with internet penetration. Internet penetration at this stage, and this is a government document, the Digital 2025 Governance Report does indicate that 33%, we have internet penetration of 33%. That's just under 7 million people who have internet access. So we're still talking about 71% of the populace, nearly 70%, about 69%, sorry, of the populace not being able to access internet, and mostly in the rural areas. So some of these digital platforms require you to have access to internet services. Okay. So we have to think about that as we're developing these platforms. How do we also improve on internet penetration so that this is not just for the benefit of those along the line of rail or in urban areas where they have good access to internet. That has been the cry, by the way, with the use of EGP, that in the rural areas contractors cannot compete on a favorable footing because they may not have easy access to some of these platforms.
We are live on our Facebook page. I just need to acknowledge some of the people that are following us through on our Facebook page, and this one comes from Honorable Rene Hachombwe, and you are watching us from Kanyama constituency. Thank you so much for following us. And we see Mayamiko. Please don't talk about Bill 7. How can you enact a law without consulting your bosses? And the other one coming from that's Anastasia. You're just acknowledging that you're with us on this one. And somebody watching from Katombola in Joma Ward, this is Joe M. Sia Vwaka. You have somebody following there from one of your wards in your constituency, Honorable there. Don Siara Simbi watching you from Monze. Thank you so much. Let me take you back to the issue that we talked about earlier on, but this time around I want to give context to what the President talked about, the issue to do with corruption. And the President did say that we have expedited the disposal of cases on corruption and economic crimes through establishment of the Economic and Financial Crimes Court. We have increased funding and enhanced capacities of our law enforcement agencies and oversight bodies. And our success affirmed by our country's improved corruption perception index score from 33 in 2021 to 39 in 2024. Further, our global ranking has improved to 92 from 117 out of 180 countries during the same period. Take note of that, and Honorable as well. But let's bring in some text messages before you respond to that. We do have people that are sending in text messages via 0978-77280. And let's see who has sent what on our screen this morning. All right, okay. This one is coming from Manzi John Chitala. Nice program, presenter, we love it. And however, the increment of CDF fund is very developmental to the people of Zambia. Only corrupt officers, and some of them have taken advantage to politicize a presidential initiative, which is very bad, and the law should apply to everyone equally. Thank you so much. To be honest, here in Kitwe, we stay over 18 hours without power. All right, thank you so much. And the other one, good morning, Parliament TV. Mr. Defoka is really analytical and assertive. The government should not feel so comfortable in delivering. They could have done better, and this does not mean they have not delivered. Otherwise, okay, it's Kwenyu there. Bosco from, yeah, thank you so much, Bosco, for your text message. Quick reaction to the President's, what he talked about in 20, we're talking about the corruption perception index from 33 in 2021 to 31 in 2024, and also the global ranking has improved. That's the corruption from 92 from 117 out of 180 countries during the same period. Your quick reaction before I bring in the doc.
Well, like I said, it's good that we're seeing this positive trajectory on the CPI. What I would have wanted government to also do is to do a bit of drilling down into the actual makeup of the CPI score. Again, this is my territory, and I will tell you that we use 13 sources for developing the CPI, and these are independent sources. So on a third-party basis, they allow TI to standardize the scores in order to come up with a single score. So when you look at the 13 sources, or in fact for Zambia it was 9 sources out of the 13, what is worrying for someone who looks at those numbers is what the World Bank and the African Development Bank presented as scores for Zambia. Were reduced on the score. There's one particular score that allowed Zambia to go up. That's from the World Economic Forum, okay, which is great. The worry that I have is that if there's any change in the World Economic Forum scoring, the next CPI could either see Zambia remaining at 39, or we could have a drop. So we have to then get to the World Bank and the others. Why is it that they're not scoring Zambia highly? Where are the areas of concern? And their metadata is there in their indicators, which will show you areas where they have concern. And government needs to have that conversation with them in order to address the areas of concern.
Doc, you would want to react to a text message and also react to what the President talked about?
The issue of the corruption perception index. It is showing that Zambia is doing better. It's doing well in that particular area. We are making scores here and there, and this is how it should be. You know, it starts with one step, you know, in the right direction, because I don't expect that all of a sudden we can just find ourselves to be, to score so highly. You know, we are graduating. We are a new government, you know, coming from a very bad percentage, and we're trying to improve now. So the point that I can make is that at least we appreciate that there is recognition within and outside Zambia that the fight against corruption is gaining ground. We are doing well. We are cramping up for the people who store public resources and giving it back to the rightful owners. I think that is how it should be. Relating to the Economic and Financial Crimes Court, I think that is a good move. It is helping us to recover a lot of assets. But like I said, I still want to repeat that I think the law still is a hindrance, and we look forward to the bill coming to the House so that the Anti-Corruption Commission Act number 3 is amended and given life. Because I'll tell you that we have officers who are deemed not to be public officers. You know, the permanent secretaries are controlling officers. So if these officers will not be defined as a subject of being public officers, it will be very, very unfortunate. That's why you've seen a lot of people who are controlling officers being set free. Like judges, for example. Judges should also be included there, because currently the law excludes judges in terms of being categorized as public officers. So in terms of arresting those people, in case of corruption, you can't arrest them. Permanent secretaries, you can't arrest them. So we still feel that with these milestones, we know that the bill is going to come in the legislative session when the executive is ready. We want to strengthen the law there. I think that is a major point that will even help us make the milestones on the corruption perception index. So far, we appreciate at least there is recognition that government is doing well.
Mr. Lifoka, Dr. Ndeleki has brought in the issue to do with economic and financial crimes court, and the president did touch on this subject. How would you rate the economic financial crime court in our country? Do you think they are helping in promoting accountability and transparency in our governance?
Yes, I think to some extent the fact that we have a dedicated or specialized court dealing with economic and financial crimes is a good development. There have been calls in the past for having a fast-track court system, and I think this kind of answers the need for this specialized court. So to that extent, we have rules that have been set up for the Economic and Financial Crimes Court. There are cases that have been heard. There's that dedication to hearing these cases. I think that is good. Where corruption has failed in the past is where cases take too long in court. And in the fight against corruption, we say that when cases take too long, the corrupt become very bored, because now they still have access to the money. They can use their money to essentially buy their freedom, and they don't want that. So to have a dedicated court in the manner that we do is a welcome development. Can more be done? Yes. Can we dispose of the cases in the 5 months? We should try to do that, so that at the end of the day we do not have cases taking 20 years, as the case was with Katele Kalumba's case or any other cases that have taken that long.
All right.
Just a burning issue there,
yes, yes.
still on the issue. The issue of lifestyle audits, the issue of asset declaration has been a topical issue. For me, we have a situation in this country where people have resources that are not commensurate to the earnings. So it has been my push from Katombora constituency that I think that we need lifestyle audits. You know, and the Anti-Corruption Commission must be empowered to move, legally we say, to move suo moto, to move on their own, to follow up particular persons who have these assets. Because you can imagine somebody is just a driver in an organization, but they have 15 lodges, they have 15 farms, source of income unknown. Somebody is just a councillor in, for example, the city council, Lusaka City Council, and somebody has a very huge farms in Eastern Province. So you start wondering, so how can a councillor whose salary is this, who doesn't earn, has never worked anywhere, can have such huge farms and property like this? So I think that these are the issues that I think are which are sources of great concern. And I think in the fight against corruption, that particular area must make provision in the law for the Anti-Corruption Commission on their own. They don't need to wait for a complaint. Okay. There must be a provision to allow the Anti-Corruption Commission move to Rufuka's home and say, Rufuka, you have so many assets. You have never worked anywhere. The tax at ZRA, the portal shows that you have never paid tax in the last 10 years, but yet you have this property. So we need to have legislation that deter corruption. Lifestyle audits are very, very good, not only for public officers, but for everybody in this country, so that we are able to, there's a lot of criminality, I'll tell you, that is going on, tax evasions, all these funny things. So I think that the laws must continue to be tightened up in order to curb criminal activities, particularly related to public funds.
President, on that score, I was almost going to give my young brother, Honorable Ndeleki, a big hug, because he's spoken my mind on lifestyle audits.
You can do that after the president.
What is just a bit strange is that Honorable Mweta was on record just a few days ago indicating that for government, they think that this has to be broader consultation, and they don't believe the environment is yet ripe for lifestyle audits. But what he said is exactly why we believe we need lifestyle audits. And the UPND in opposition were very vocal, and rightly so, that we need lifestyle audit.
Okay, let's get to the screens. Remember, this is the post-analysis of the presidential address during the official opening of the 5th session of the 13th Assembly. And let's see who has sent a message on our platform. Is 0978-772-801. Let's quickly see the text messages that we've received. The presidential speech was very straightforward. Decentralization, CDF, increment, free education, return of student meal allowances in public universities, a fight against corruption. should be supported by all patriotic Zambian we saw ambulances. Thank you so much for that text message. Kasonde Kawita, should be Kasama there. The government is trying, except for some government officers who are still failing to deliver. Thank you so much. The other one, digitalization is a way to go, but it's not an ideal here in Lukulu district because some parts are still struggling as youths. We need an effective network as world is going digital. Inclusivity in this service, in these services can lead to timely service delivery. Thank you so much. No name there. Make sure that you let us know your name and where you're sending your text message from. It could be on radio, listening us from radio, and maybe watching on TV or our Facebook page. The vision of the president is very clear. That needs support of everyone who to better this country. Unfortunately, the president has some of his cabinet ministers and senior government officials are failing to help him completely win. We pray that such ministers work with the president in totality to advance resource development. All right, let's see the last text message coming from Mwansa in Lusaka province. Good morning, Ebo Panel and Mr. Okay, thank you so much. I'm also very concerned with some substandard works here in Mutendere Ward 34 Georgetown Street, who really supervises WDCs, and where can we report such wastage of resources? Mansa, thank you so much for your text, and how I wish the current government can curb corruption the way they curbed capitalism. Judy Justin, thank you so much, Judy Justin. And Simeon Jr., you're saying, good morning, the panel. I thank Mr. President for the nice and marvelous speech he addressed last week. Our president was clearly open. We are living in a peaceful atmosphere, and about CDF, we are benefiting from it. We thank our able leader, Mr. President, and the panel. God bless. It's coming from Simeon there, Chiwamanga. Appreciate for those text messages. And unfortunately, we've come to the tail end of the program, but I really wanted us to look at a very issue that the country will be going into, the 2026 general election. If you go to page 56 of the president's address, he did say that credible elections constitute a critical hallmark of a functional democracy. He further said, as a country, we pride ourselves in having peaceful and credible election with a peaceful transition from the administration to another. In preparation for the general election in August next year, the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, will conduct a countrywide voter education and mass registration voters. Let me start with you, Mr. Lifuka. What have we learned from the past elections and the voter registration that we've had as a country? Quickly,
well,
under a minute or so.
I think we need to have all those that are eligible to vote to exercise their franchise, and therefore having ongoing voter registration is important, and what ECZ has started now is extremely important. We need to create an atmosphere where all political parties can canvass and woo support from would-be voters, and at the end of the day we need to have a credible election so that at the end of every process we can all look at each other and say we have a vibrant democracy, and Zambia should still be a model following what we did in 1991.
I know you've been following these voter registration year in, year out, every after 5 years. I know we've had the continuous voter registration process. But what lessons have we learned from the past, and how better can the ECZ conduct this? Just under
I think timeliness in the way we do things, public communication, the consultation, carrying everyone on board so that you build public trust, and just being transparent and accountable in everything that the ECZ does. That is important.
Yeah, thank you very much. The President was on point to encourage Zambians to register as voters. I'm echoing the same points. Let Zambians register as voters so that they can vote. If they want CDF to continue roaring, they have to vote for the right president. They must, if they want new allowances to continue, they must register as voters. And if they want those ambulances, they saw the CDF vehicles, everything good policies happening, they must register as voters and vote for the president. Thank you very much for allowing me to feature on behalf of the people of Katombola and on behalf of my party, UPND. Thank you.
Mr. Lifuka, your concluding remarks?
Well, it's been a pleasure being here, and just to state that personally I believe that Zambia is still a going concern, and where there are areas that need to be strengthened, we should talk about it freely. We shouldn't get caught up in just the political propaganda, and that is my approach. I was going to say on behalf of my party, the Lightning and Thunder Party, not yet formed.
I like that. Thank you so much. I just hope and trust you've enjoyed today's post-analysis of the presidential address during the official opening of the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly. My two guests on today's program have had Mr. Ruben Lifuka, a governance expert, and also had Dr. Clement Ndeleki, Member of Parliament for Katombola constituency. I must say thank you so much for finding time and be with us on this platform. We'll be back tomorrow with yet another interesting post-analysis on a subject that is very interesting. So I would urge you to be with us tomorrow at 8:10 in the morning, and as we dissect the presidential address. My name is Paul Sentindovi on behalf of the entire production crew, and indeed not forgetting you, our viewers and our listeners, those of you that were following us through on our Facebook page and our YouTube page. Let's be together tomorrow at the same time. Keep watching and listening to Parliament.